What's up, everybody? Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no, no, no. I gave away the game plan. Not really. Um, First and foremost, if you like my videos that are constantly being hidden by YouTube because, well, you know why, feel free to support my channel on Patreon. And as always, if I use somebody else's footage, well, hopefully that's still covered under fair use. Anyway, are carnivores really smarter than vegans? At least when it comes to agriculture and food production, right? They always gloat about how vegans don't know anything, and they don't. But unless, you yourself dig your hands in the dirt, or you own a farm or something along those lines, just because you eat meat, just because you've peeled one tiny little layer of the onion of deception, well, that still doesn't mean you're anywhere near the core, right? Just because you realize something you should have been known, but just because, at the age of 55 or even 25, you realize that meat is good for you, that doesn't exactly make you smart, okay? Because you still needed a guru like He-Man over here. Anyway, that doesn't make you smart. But anyway, one very genius like an intelligent carnivore told me that there are no food shortages, right? What are these military men doing? What are they doing? Weird. Let's read what it is that we're looking at. Members of the New York National Guard support civil authorities with food distribution operations. What? Veterans Field Park, Amsterdam, New York. Members of the New York National Guard support civil authorities with food distribution operations to assist residents of Amsterdam and surrounding areas that have been adversely impacted by the health and economic stresses caused by their government's response to COVID-19. Local officials have organized to assist with a drive-through food distribution event to mitigate the impact of their government shutting down their economy and making them all poor and hungry. What? What? But a very intelligent woke carnivore told me there are no food shortages. Not in America. What, these soldiers are wrong, right? What are they doing? Oh, what a bunch of dummies. Twitter says it's illegal to tweet that there are food shortages in the US, so you know there aren't any, right? But let's see what all the woke carnivores who still like to watch He-Man cartoons are saying. So basically, Shawn Baker made this, or just re-uploaded someone's video in the UK telling people what Shawn Baker's been telling them forever, to eat meat because it makes you healthy, right? And more resistant to fake pandemics. Of course, Shawn Baker doesn't have the balls to say anything like that because, well, I don't know why. He just doesn't. Because, look, for those of you who still don't get what's happening, there is not, there won't be Shawn Baker. There's not going to be no carnivore diet. Shawn Baker is not going to be able to feed his family the way he is right now. Okay? So to say that he's protecting his family, no, he's not. By not speaking out about what's happening, what's blatant and obvious and so easy to see. Him not speaking out about it, not warning people, not preparing, not telling people to prepare, that's counterproductive. Okay? Unless you're telling me, he's deep state or something like that, which I don't believe. Anyway, let's read some of the woke carnivore comments on Shawn Baker's video telling them to eat meat. Lehia Feng says, China government is telling citizens to eat more meat, eggs, and milk. Chinese health officials in Shanghai advising any citizen who's sick to increase nutrition on television. On television! My dad sent this clip to me the other day. Representative was saying to drink lots of milk, eat lots of eggs, and beef steaks. Don't bother with the rice porridge, popular in China. It's completely useless. Eat nutritious food. Yeah? Why is the Chinese... by the way, why is Dr. Shawn Baker giving the same advice as the evil Chinese government? Why? Anyway, this is something that I had been aware of for a while because my wife teaches Chinese kids. And they all know how nutritious meat is. And part of the government propaganda is to push that. Like she has lesson plans where they talk about what food is nutritious. And meat is number one, right? So while the entire Western world is those governments are telling their people to eat trash, terrible, terrible food, the Chinese government has been telling their people to eat nutritious food, right? While people like Yao Ming come out of nowhere and put, American NBA basketball players to shame. Makes you think, doesn't it? It should. Now, why are they doing that? It's very obvious why they want their people to be strong and healthy, right? It's very obvious why. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Now, you can make what you want out of this website that's apparently connected to the deep state, making predictions about what the world population is going to look like, right? Insofar as China's concerned, they seem to be predicting that their population will stabilize as their GDP goes up. So as people of China become more prosperous, their population will drop ever so slightly, more or less stabilizing, right? That's what they're predicting for China. What they're predicting for the United States is 225, roughly, million drop in population. More than 2/3 of the US population they are predicting will no longer live within the borders of the United States, or just live. Right? That's what they're predicting. What do we think about that, people? What do we think about that? Do you think diet is part of this equation? Do you think they're looking at diet, maybe? Do you think disease has something to do with it? Do you think the fact that your government doesn't seem to have your best interests in mind is part of it? China is going through this. They're ahead of everybody when it comes to this crisis, right? The people are, for the most part, back to work and, well, being productive, helping to keep their economy alive. While they're telling you in the United States that this will go on for probably 2 years. What do you think 2 years of staying at home is going to do to the health of your population? What is it going to do to your economy? What is that going to do to your food supply? But no, don't criticize Shawn Baker for not standing up and speaking out, right? As these deep state think tanks are predicting that, something's going to happen to millions of you, as they're telling you to eat trash, while the Chinese government is this evil Chinese government is telling their people to eat meat. Let's see what all the woke carnivores are saying. Eat real food, that's crazy talk. Big Pasta isn't happy about this. As if Big Pasta and Big Meat weren't one and the same when it comes to you, slave. This will end up being our first recorded irony pandemic. What? The underlying conditions that make the bug dangerous are diabetes, heart disease. Okay, yeah, well, you're way ahead of the curve, bud. Some want to hear any solution except nourish your immune by eating whole food, avoiding highly processed junk. This is a bunch of NPC robots, right? That's who Shawn Baker's 99% of Shawn Baker's audience is, NPC robots. It doesn't matter what he says, right? They're not going to listen. So I kind of understand Shawn Baker, but integrity, it's hard to come by these days. Someone tried the carnivore diet and they felt great, so they will eat this way forever because meat just falls out of the sky. Oh, well, Yana Nova is somewhat awake. Loud and clear. Bravo. Bravo. What does Jim Hare have to say? Come on, junk food and processed food is an addiction, and the manufacturing companies do that and make it on that way on purpose. Jim. Speaking English, brother? I mean, this is what we're dealing with, right? People they haven't even mastered their own language. Forget about understanding anything, right? They could read an article and not retain half of it anyway, because they don't speak the language very well. And we'll read some articles in just a second. Wow, that photo at the end. I love He-Man cartoons. Another carnivore story. Good for you, but carnivore diet success story. But if that matters to you, being able to eat that way, then you should snap out of it, homie. Fasting meat, you'll be fine. Crack them immune function through the roof. Simply Daniel Gray, right? Another English speaker. Food walks on four legs and flies south in the winter. Everything else is processed trash nobody should eat. Our own Food and Drug Administration is killing people. They push that. Well, they kind of got it right, but why does China not do that to their own people? Some people really ought to step out of their bubble. Common sense and a huge steak, right? Just eat a steak and everything will be okay. Are you implementing any performance enhancing? Sounds like somebody. Good advice for the masses. I am not the masses. Oh my God. Just a whole bunch of NPCs, right? Completely unaware of what's happening to their food supply. So what is happening to the food supply? While China is telling their people, been so for many, many years, telling their people to eat nutritious, real food, these Americans are way behind, right? Look, just because you learn at the age of 45 or 55 or even 25 that you should eat real food, that meat is good for you, well, and maybe perhaps because you barely learned that in your adulthood, that should tell you something. Like maybe that you're brainwashed, and just because you peeled one little layer of the onion of deception, well, maybe you should keep peeling, bro. Look, if you just realize that meat is good for you, despite everything that we know about human physiology and our ancestry and our history, if you just realize that, how woke can you really be, right? How intelligent can you really be? So this is what's happening in the US, right? Why farmers are dumping milk even as people go hungry. Well, these woke carnivores are telling me there are no food shortages. Twitter said it's illegal to say food shortage, so there is no food shortage. Awesome. You guys are awesome. U.S. corn soy meal feed woes deepen as millions of chickens face call. Right? Chickens are being called. Why? Because you can't get the feed for them chickens from China. While all the carnivores are saying, Wuhan virus, go get Chinese, the Wuhan virus, the Kung Flu Wuhan virus. Right? Go get China. Go get them. Go get them. Not realizing how they're literally shooting themselves in the foot. Oh, well, but I don't eat corn-fed. I don't eat grain-fed. I only eat grass-fed. So this doesn't affect me at all, right? Not realizing that the only reason why they're even able to afford grass-fed is because of grain-fed. But hey, millions of chickens are being called in. This is just a couple of states, Maryland and Virginia, just one company, right? What's happening at all these other companies? If you're not allowed to talk about that, at least on some social media, the mainstream media aren't picking any of these stories up, right? Farmers dump milk, break eggs as CV restaurant closings destroy demand, right? So while your country is dumping milk, breaking eggs, and calling cattle because, what's the point of milking these cows and dumping their milk? If you can't even sell the meat, you're just doing work for nothing. So they're being told to call the cattle, and it's happening. Just hasn't hit the news yet. Not even, it has to be happening. Why would you do this, right? Or as soon as they realize that the lockdowns that they have planned for you are going to go on for at least a couple of years, okay, 18 months. As soon as they realize that, they will call the cattle, right? So while your farmers are dumping milk, breaking eggs, and calling the cattle, the Chinese government is doing everything they can to feed their people with exactly that, right? And then there was the Midwest flooding last year that killed tons of livestock. And what else did it do? It didn't just do that. It flooded a whole bunch of fields, destroyed grain supply, seed, right? And a lot of farmers are saying that they don't want to plant this coming season. They're not planting right now, okay? Do you know what that means? Well, I don't eat grain. I don't eat corn. Dummies. Historic flood losses will impact food on your table, okay? This is before the current crisis. This is a perfect storm. So perfect that only Bill Gates could have predicted it, right? Because he's a time traveler. He has a time machine, and he came back from the future to save us during this crisis. So food shortages are already happening, and it's only going to get worse. But I wouldn't be surprised, dear carnivore dieters, if Bill Gates had the perfect solution for you already in place, because it looks like he sold a whole bunch of stock right before all of this in his Beyond Meat. And despite the fact that no one wanted to eat his trash, not enough people anyway, and his stock was plummeted shortly thereafter, he used that money to invest in more Beyond Meat propaganda. See, people who talk about supply and demand as if that's all that there was to it, really should keep their mouths shut about economics. They're not seeing all the bigger picture. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, and this is just a side note, a tangent, is that supply for the most part is just demand. Well, supply too, I guess. But demand is just artificially created, okay? By mass media brainwashing, basically. So, Bill Gates has been investing in Beyond Meat propaganda while losing lots of money, right? And in my opinion, producing and stockpiling the Beyond Burger, which has a shelf life of probably 5 to 6 years, right? So I'm sure there's a stockpile of this trash somewhere ready to just get unleashed on all the unsuspecting meat eaters who will be brought down to their knees after 2 or 3 weeks of not having any steak, and will have no choice but to buy Beyond Meat. So, say goodbye to the carnivore diet, basically, unless you got a lot of money or a way to produce your own meat. You could say goodbye to the carnivore diet. And this whole idea of Shawn Baker somehow, wanting to save his own tail, which is why he's not speaking out about this. My argument always has been that he's destroying himself, okay? He's not saving his own tail or his family's tail by keeping mum about what's happening, because his entire livelihood seems to be based on the carnivore diet. And if that goes away, how is he going to feed his kids, right? So Shawn Baker, just like all these dummies saying, go after China, right? Because of Wuhan virus. They're all shooting themselves in the foot. And they don't even know it, okay? So I'm not too sure there will be widespread food shortages. The website Deagle.com, they seem to think there will be. Because, they seem to think that 200 plus million of you Americans is going to go somewhere. Heaven, hell, China, I don't know. Guess we'll see. But, there already are some food shortages, but it might not be as grave as some of us imagine, because, Bill Gates, our God and Savior, probably already has a solution cooked up and cooked up somewhere, just ready to respond to the demand, right? Because, oh my God, supply and demand. That's hilarious, man. How there probably are already warehouses stockpiling this meat because, there will be a demand for it, however artificial. That's hilarious. Maybe that is why they call it supply and demand, not demand and supply. Maybe that is why. I don't know. So I'm not necessarily saying that everybody will starve, but you can say goodbye to the carnivore diet unless you're rich or you got your own animals, okay? Say goodbye to the carnivore diet, Dr. Shawn Baker. Or at the very least, the growth thereof, because that's not what's planned. And if you can't see that and you're too scared to talk about that, well, I mean, it is what it is, right? That's my video. All these carnivores that, are always putting down vegans for how dumb they are, they're not wrong necessarily, but they aren't much smarter themselves. And many vegans are much smarter than the average carnivore, because at the very least they're speaking out about this. And they're not as cowardly as this human carnivore hunter, beefy, muscular, super strong, and, manly man. What a joke. What a joke. So, that's my video. Long-winded rant. I'm done here, man. Get used to or prepare to eat your garbage, vegan slop, processed junk. Get ready to redefine the carnivore diet. Or maybe some people already have, like Tufano with his carnivore diet, not even knowing that ultimately, I mean, come on, man. This has always been the plan, to feed you grain. Not feed these animals grain, feed you the grain directly. They'll just make it look like meat. It's really that simple. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.